How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore PPF and Tint, and today we are working on a Toyota Camry rear bumper. For the video, we're gonna go ahead and do this bulk, although I'm sure that the kit fits great. But I do wanna make sure we get plenty of bulking content on the channel. This is gonna end up being two pieces here. We're gonna have the main bumper, and then this rear portion here in the center is going to be a second piece. And then we're gonna have a video at the very end that'll also go over removing this piece of plastic here and removing the rock guards or mud flaps, whatever you wanna call those plastic pieces that cover that area. We're also gonna go over a couple other things. We're gonna go ahead and measure this together, and then we'll hop into the cutting room and I'll show you how I cut this stuff out using the plotter cutter even when I'm bulking, and then get it transferred to the pill board, and we'll go ahead and I'll show you the process of getting it off the pill board and onto the car. And like I said, I'll put some numbers here, or you can check in the description, and we'll go ahead and try to add some tags this time and get you jumped ahead if you don't want to watch this part. Terrific, let's get moving. All right, so when I'm looking at this bumper, I can see that we're gonna have this plastic piece that we're just gonna go ahead and take out, otherwise we're gonna need to cut around it. And that would be fine too. Either way, we're gonna have to cut, right? Because yeah, I mean, either way you have to cut around it or under it. So all of this stuff is going to be fairly simple. Right here we are going to have a little bit of extra material that's going to want to bunch up, and we're just going to need some stretch for that. This is going to be very simple. In here, what I'm going for is potentially like in this center section, I'm going to come from here over down this line, and then somewhere right in here I will cut up, and then we will cover this section all the way in. We do want full coverage on the trunk entrance though, because when things drag across here, it'd be easy to hit any of this stuff. You can see here I've already removed that part. That's what it looks like once you take it off, as well as I've already removed the rock guards there. And then in this section here with this part, we are gonna have to put some, keep this real tight and then turn the material and get some excess in here so that this will contour in really nicely without a ton of stretch in there. We will take the film down and then bring it back into here somewhere. Maybe we'll go all the way. We'll just kind of see how it goes. This is gonna be tough right here underneath, if you can see, because the material isn't gonna wanna go in there and then contour on this very well. So we may just put a slit in there. We'll see. The coverage in here is, really probably not all that necessary, but we're gonna do what we can. Now around this marker light here, we're gonna go ahead and wrap in a little bit, and we'll see what I decide to do on this. I might take it all the way to the light, especially on the bottom. It's not really a light on the marker. I might try to kind of go all the way into it just to kind of hide that line a bit instead of just keeping it right out here on the face of the bumper. And then the top part, we might just end up doing the same thing, but I can tell that we're gonna need a slit here and a slit here, and then the material will then be able to contour into those areas. This is areas too sharp, and you're just expecting too much of the material. If you're gonna try and, if you don't put a relief cut there, you're expecting a lot, is all I'm saying. Terrific, well, let's go ahead and get moving. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a measurement of this bumper, and then we'll know what we're gonna need for material. All right, so we're gonna need to go from here and then come all the way down below this part here. And so for that, I'll just basically go up to the tail light, and then we'll come down, and we can see that that should all fit on a 24-inch roll, with maybe giving us about an inch over the top and an inch over the bottom. So that'll be fine. A 30-inch would be just a ton of excess. Although I would go for a ton of excess over coming up short, because then you waste this whole piece. All right, let's go ahead and measure from side to side now and get our length. So we're gonna do a 24-inch roll, and then we'll go ahead and start over here. We'll just go past and then come around like this here, and we can see that right about 1/16 is what we need for length. And sometimes I'll just add a couple inches to that so that we make sure we have plenty. Although when we do the stretch, that's also going to give us some extra material. So let's go ahead and cut this out and get it all ready. All right, so now we're here in our media room. It's basically where we keep all the materials, and then we've got our computer and our plotter cutters in here. We'll go ahead and load this up. like we're going to be cutting it out with the computer. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead, and because I'm going to be cutting it off here, we wanna start our measurement from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this down to that line. Otherwise, when you roll this out, it's gonna measure from here, and then you're gonna need to add 5 inches to come up to here. So it's just easier if you put this right here, you know that that's your where you started, your starting point. You don't have to add the 5 inches to it. Oh, none of these rollers are down. We must have cut out some window tint earlier. All right, let's try that again. And I am gonna make some videos on how to load and how to use a plotter cutter and stuff, so I'm not gonna go over a bunch of that right now, but all I'm trying to do with this back and forth here is just trying to get the material in there nice and straight so it doesn't roll off crooked when it's cutting. Terrific. We'll go ahead and tell it we've got a roll on there because we don't want it to back this up to here when it measures. If you push one of the other buttons, there's 3 ways that you can tell it where to start, and we want it to start right where I put it. So we say we got a roll on there. Now it also thinks that the material is this wide because these rollers are down too, but we're not worried about that for this circumstance here. So let's go ahead and roll this out. So we're gonna come out that 116 inches. So we're at 86 inches now. $110, $117, that's good enough. And I mean, even you can go, we'd probably do 118 or so. Any of that's good enough. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is cut this off right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and remove the release liner. Terrific. All right, so this keg here is just straight water. So we'll wet this down. And when I'm bulking like this, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna put the film side on the glass. And I will explain why in a moment here. All right, terrific. Want to make sure that the corners are stuck down really well so that the material doesn't roll off. Okay, great. All right, so now I've flipped this over as far as when I put it on here. Like if we were cutting out a kit and we were setting it up here, then right now we'd have this on the liner side on the back. Or sticking to the glass, because then we'd just be pulling parts off, right? But because we need the piece of material and we don't need the backing, we're gonna go ahead and put it on like this, and then we can peel the whole backing off, and I'm able to do this then by myself and get this onto the car without doing that reverse roll method to get the material onto the bumper. Personal preference, I like peel boards better than the reverse rolling of kits and bulking. Terrific, so let's go ahead and get this liner off of here. Okay, and then we want to go ahead and just immediately get it sprayed down as we take the liner off. Okay, that's all ready to go. Let's give the bumper one last wipe down, and then we'll transfer that over. Oh, there's a gnat flying around. Get on out of here. Okay, everything's looking really good. Nice and clean. Let's actually wipe in here because we did just take that piece of plastic out, and when I pressure washed, I did blow all around here, but there could still be stuff stuck right in the back here. Okay, we'll wet this down and get the material over here. It's nice when you do it like this because this is already ready to go now. And this is more important on things like hoods and stuff like that, because the less time you spend messing around, the less likely that something is going to land on your material or on the top of your hood. So you can get this stuff all prepped and ready to move over to the vehicle before you do your final cleaning on the hood. And then the time that it takes you to put the material on there is way less. So then you don't have to worry about, you know, little lint and things falling out of the air and getting stuck under the material, or, you know, landing on the hood and then you put the material over it. Less likely with this process. That was messy, sorry about that. Okay, because you can see we have a ton here, so let's go ahead and we'll move some of that over to the other side. And I do have quite a bit of soap in here today, so let's just make sure that we've got coverage, and then I'm gonna go ahead and tack that just a tiny bit. Make sure it doesn't just fall down. Yeah, see, that's where that was here. So we definitely need to bring a little bit over. And it would have been a good idea for me to put the tire covers on, but I forgot. Okay, great, we're hanging over on both sides. All right, so you can see here that we're gonna end up with a lot of extra material here and here. And that's because of the contour there, and because these sides both kind of do this. And so we are going to need to stretch this material in order to get rid of that. This is a piece of cake, that's nothing as far as stretch goes. So we'll start by tacking here in the center, and then we'll get our stretch done, and then we'll come back and we'll release this section just to make sure that we don't leave any stretch marks in it, which may or may not be an issue. We will see as we go. All right, so we'll go ahead and tack this down. It's pretty soapy today. I've got quite a bit of soap in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw some tack in there. Okay, there we go. That way we don't have issues with this moving around once we pull it. We don't want to end up short at the other end. Okay. There we go. Great. And then we'll go ahead and put some stretch on this to get rid of these fingers here, and then we'll tack over here a bit. So I'm going to tack up here, and then I'll find somewhere down here, maybe on the bottom, to tack. So let's get a little bit of tack solution in here. And then we'll go ahead and put a little stretch on this to get rid of this extra material. All right, that's laying down super good. And that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and hold that there with my knee, and then we'll stick this down here. And I found that if you get the very corner to stick, it's best. Otherwise it wants to continue to, like, this will just continue to lift and peel like it's doing right there. So if you get this very corner to stay down, you'll be in good shape. Now my knee down there, help that to stay stuck in place. Just get the other side stretched a bit. Okay, great. Just checking to make sure we're gonna be able to get rid of all these fingers and things that are going on here. Okay, pull it back, get rid of any pre-tacking. And then we'll go ahead and put some stretch on this until we get this to lay down nice and flat. So we want to get some tack on here and some tack on the bottom here. Okay, that's looking really good. We've got good coverage everywhere. tack this into place. Let's see if we can get this to stay down pretty good. We don't want to watch that a little bit. The more tension that has on it, the more likely it is to pop up. And then right down here, just make sure that we're good and stuck right there. Now let's go ahead and pop that center, and then we'll start squeegeeing out all the extra solution. All right, so because we put this down with tack solution and then we stretched away from it, there's a possibility we can leave distortions here. It's not really going to be noticeable on this color vehicle, but if you're doing a black car, you know, you'd have much more likelihood of seeing something like that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and lift this. And this will eliminate any problems, you know, as far as having any stretch marks there. All right, let's go ahead and start squeegeeing this out now. All right, so we've got a lot of tension on this portion here, so we're gonna wanna get that squeegeed out first, because it's gonna start to pre-tack there a lot. And then let's go ahead and, we're just gonna get this whole backside done, and then we'll go around the corners here. And I think I'm gonna leave that part, and we'll just take care of this bottom section first. We'll work our way across. Okay. Squeegeeing that out, make sure you do good overlapping strokes so you're not leaving any moisture behind. And then this is all looking really good right here. We're pretty nice and tight. I'm gonna put just a tiny bit of tension down to get rid of a little bit of this excess here, like that. And then you can see how that lays down real nice on there. You can also add some tack in there, would be a good thing. Okay, make sure we've got good coverage, which, I mean, I was already looking at that, but you would wanna check that before you start squeegeeing things out. All right, let's go ahead and continue around into this wheel well here. Okay, it's a little bit different because I got this lift now. A little bit different of an install because I'm used to just being able to reach everything because I'm sitting right here in front of it. I'd normally be bending way down. All right, put some tack in there, and we're gonna go ahead and squeegee this out. Because this part recesses a little bit, it's gonna wanna bridge the gap from like here to here and not stick down in the middle. It's gonna wanna stay like that. So we're gonna put some tack in there to convince it to stay down. See how it's coming back up? So we'll go ahead and do a swipe and hold there. Like that. Let's get the other side and then we'll start working on the top part. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this water up into here, and then the rest of this will just take back this direction. I will anticipate that that's going to potentially settle down a little bit further back down in here, and we just need to keep an eye out for that when we go to squeegee all of this out. Okay, let's take a look here. We are gonna need just that little bit of extra tension here, and you don't absolutely need it, but I'm gonna put it into it anyway, because look at that, I can get that to lay down. Let's see, do we really need it? That actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little tack in here and pull all that extra material back into here. And that will also actually give us a little bit of extra material in this area to help us wrap in there and not have so much tension in this corner on the underneath there. Okay, great. And then let's take all the rest of this towards the wheel well. All right, and this is again gonna need some tack in here. I have a decent amount of soap in there today. It's not overly soaped, but it is got 12 milliliters per gallon of the 7th generation dish soap. So, you know, and I'll run anywhere from like 7 to 10 usually, but today I went 12 just to see how it went and if it's too slippery, but it's actually looking pretty good. Okay. So before we start dealing with these areas, let's get back out here and take care of this top part of the bumper now. Okay. So the water did travel down just a little bit more because it's kind of basically pooling up right there. So we're going to need to make sure and keep an eye on that and get that squeegeed out. I'll get rid of a little bit of this pre-tacking, although I think it doesn't really need to be gotten rid of. Well, let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll go ahead and start squeegeeing this out. Now, how do we want to tackle this here? I think I could have gotten a little bit more stretch from left to right, and that would have helped this to lay in a little bit tighter. But we're more than adequate here for stretch. Now, the other thing that we are going to need to do is we're going to need to put a relief cut in here to allow us to be able to get this to push down and stay down really well. Let's go ahead and do that. But I also don't want to relieve all the tension. I'm going to go ahead and squeegee some of this out first, and then we'll put that relief cut in there. So I'm going to get a little tack in here. And let's see what we can do. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna just want to continue to pop up. So let's get some of this squeegeed out first, and then we'll go ahead and put that relief cut there. We'll get some more tack in behind there, and then we'll get this to stay down. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we're gonna do a swipe and hold there because it kept wanting to come back. Just like that. And I'm kind of putting a little bit of tension upwards now into this corner. And then we'll squeegee up towards the headlight, or tail light, sorry. Hold that down into place. And I'll do a swipe and hold right there on that edge. Okay, let's get just a little bit more tack in here now. All right. Great. And we'll take this, basically I'm just taking all this right to the corner, and that's gonna help us eliminate some of these fingers. Okay, that looks really good. All right, let's go ahead and get this down now. And actually, before I trim that, I'm gonna get this to stick down as well, with a little bit of tack in there. Okay, go ahead and push into that recess a little bit, and then we'll do some more work there to make sure that all that stays down in a moment. Now let's get this part all taken care of. Okay, I'm gonna let out just barely the tip of one blade, and we'll cut this down in the center here, like that, and then we'll take this all the way up. Well, eventually we will. All right, there we go. You can see I was kind of pulling the material away from the taillight just to make sure we didn't bump anything with the blade. Okay, let's go ahead and get some more tack in here. And then we'll wrap this in for now, and then we'll just let that sit and dry, and then we'll be back to trim it all out. So by taking that piece of plastic out, I'm able to wrap this material in just a little bit here, and then we'll be able to hide this edge so that you won't have an edge here that the dirt will collect in over time. Now it's important when you're squeegeeing like this, like I keep having this, the squeegee wants to stop on the material a little bit, and probably maybe I should put a little bit more slip on here to make sure that it continues to glide, but I'm trying to get good pressure on it to get all the moisture out, and it keeps wanting to stop and kind of catch, but you don't want it to stop, otherwise you're going to leave marks in the adhesive, and it'll just basically leave a line wherever this edge stops. All right, let's go ahead and do the other side, and then we will take care of getting all of this area to stick down. Okay, I'm almost done here, and then I'll come over there. You getting that all cleaned up? Okay. Okay, let's get all this squeegeed out now. Basically just got rid of the pre-tacking there, but one thing that we need to do here is lift this up down to this line and get rid of the material that's bunched up right there. Just lift it up, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of tug upward, and then that'll lay down nicely. So let's get a little tack in there actually. And I'm even going to put just a little bit of stretch back towards the front of the car, and that'll really help this part lay down even nicer. Not that we had much of a problem on the other side, but since we have the availability to do that. So I'm just tucking the material right into that recess between the bumper and the rear quarter panel there. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and get some tack in here, and we're going to need quite a bit because I did put so much soap in here. As far as we've got so much slip solution in here. Oh no, look at that. We have a piece of dirt. Let's see here. We have a piece of dirt right here. So what I'm going to need to do is pull this back up, and we're going to go down to here where we didn't use tack solution. So we're going to go all the way down here. And then I'm going to try and get over to that part with my hand. So we're going to end up having to do this a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to change my idea here. We're going to go ahead and put some more tack in here and get this back down like we had it. Like this. And then we're going to go ahead and just trim this right now, and we'll see how this goes. So we're going to come down, and then when we get to the bottom here, I'm actually going to make a little bit of a turn, and then bring it back, so we leave a circle at the end instead of a straight line. That makes sure that this doesn't tear off while we're pulling this back. Okay, and let's go ahead and tear this straight up. I'm gonna get my hand in here. I gotta get that piece of dirt out. I think that got it. Yes, okay. All right, I'm gonna get a little tack in there, and let's get this top kind of stretched back up into place. I'm just gonna go like this straight towards the corner like that, and then hold just over that edge. And we'll kind of squeegee some of this out. Got a little bit of a finger there, but we will get that. That's gonna go down without a problem. Okay, let's get some tack in here now. A little slip on top, and we'll go ahead and squeegee this out again. Okay, just like that. Just make sure you didn't leave anything behind. It's all looking really good. And I don't know if that's going to stay down or not because we didn't put any tack in there to get that down. All right, now let's go ahead and take everything up into this corner here. So I'm just putting just a tiny bit of tug on it, nothing really aggressive. Okay, and then we'll go up and into the corner and hold. And I'm just gonna put my finger there and hold that in place. And then we'll take the rest of this up and out. So just basically smashing the squeegee between the bumper and the taillight. Like so. That'll get it to stick really good on that edge. Okay, now let's get all this out. A little more tack in there. Now we do have a little bit of extra material right there. So what we're gonna try and do is kind of split that up a little bit and bring it a little bit down. And we're gonna try to make a little bit extra here and then there. We're just breaking it up a little bit. Okay, and now because we have tack solution in there, I did fold it over. One of those I ran over it a little bit funky and left a little mark where I crossed it over. Okay, we'll go ahead and get that down and then do a swipe and hold on the edge, and that's all looking really good. Okay, and you can see down here that this had come up a little bit, so let's get that down right now. So I got some tack in there, and then I'm just gonna put just a tiny tug this direction, just a tiny bit, just to get it to lay down nice and flat. It's not much of any tug at all, but just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna look at this area and think that I probably, let's see if we can still do it. Yeah, we can get it some more extra material. Great. Okay, we hadn't squeegeed out right here yet, so we're gonna be able to, look at that, I touched the muffler. We're gonna be able to push this up a little to get us a little bit of extra material in here, which will work out really well. I'll go ahead and get some tack in here. We'll go ahead and get this section down. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of extra material right here to make sure that's gonna lay down real nice. And I'm getting all the way down into this recess here. Okay, like this. Great, so now we've worked all the way into this light area, or this reflector. Let's get a blade, and we'll put a little relief cut here so we can get this to stick down. So we're gonna go right about here. And let's see, we want to just come down like with this body here. Actually, I'm just gonna come like, go right to that corner there. And then I'm gonna bring it straight down. That way we leave extra material so that we know that we can wrap back in here a bit. Okay, now with that relief cut there, we will be able to tack this down right here and have it stay down. And like I said, we are planning on doing this in a separate piece. And so we don't, we're not concerned with the fact that we just cut that material out right there. And we're, we've got, obviously we can't cover that piece now. All right, terrific. Okay, I'm just popping that up and releasing the any pre-tacking, and then squeegeeing down into that recess there. All right, let's get all this part down just the same as we did on the other side. You can see we've got a little bit of extra water here that keeps sneaking out. When we get some tack in there, hopefully we'll convince some of that tack to go down in there. And so I'm going to go ahead this time and just cut this right now. And I am going to come a little bit lower because we might need a little bit extra material there. So I'm just going to kind of come way down here and then come straight down. Great. Doesn't really seem like I can get a good angle. And you have to be really careful when you're doing this. When I'm pulling this out, you don't want to pull real hard right here because you will cause that tear to continue up. So I'm being really gentle. Let's go ahead and get this down first. And then I'm just going to hold that in place with my finger for a minute, or not quite a minute, but okay, let's get this released. Okay, now we're all floating around. That's great. Let's get a little tack in here. So in these areas, you can just make a U shape there and then you don't have to worry about the film tearing off. But I didn't want to do that on this one, so I didn't. But you know, that's a good practice to get into, especially areas that have a ton of tension. Okay, let's get all this down now. Okay, I'm gonna squeegee this down into place. All right, I actually just used my finger there and push that down. And then let's get rid of the rest of this tack solution here. I didn't get quite enough material in there to completely allow that to sink in real easily. So it's gonna just need a little bit more convincing. So we're gonna put it down into place and hold it with our finger. And then the rest of this here, we can just squeegee up into place. And then what I'm going to do on this one, because there is a little bit more tension there, is I'm going to come down like this, and then we'll come right out the middle. And then once we get over there, we'll come down into the corner again at an angle. All right, great. And we'll get a little bit more tack in there, and that releases all the tension. So now we'll be able to push this down and have it stay down. Great. And then we will worry about finishing wrapping these in just a little minute here. Okay, so we've got everything down now. I did leave a little bit of water there, so you're just always making sure that you're double checking all your work for extra, you know, water bubbles or air left behind. That's looking really good. So we've got basically everything in place and laid down now. I've got another car I've got to do some headlights on, and then we'll get back to trimming everything out and making sure that everything stays stuck down. All right, so let's go ahead and get this part here stuck down. What I'm gonna do is spray some tack solution back in there. I just keep pressuring it in there, and I can see that it's traveling all the way back. And then we're gonna get, let's get some slip on the outside too here. There we go. And then we're gonna go up into that recess and then just push in right there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and release this tension. Just be careful when you're popping this loose that you don't pop it off of the bumper. Okay, like that. So that's good and tucked in. And we'll do the next part here. And release this tension. And let that go into the recess a little bit. And we'll do that all the way across. And we are kind of starting to get in an area where I'm not sure if the tack solution made it to, so I'm going to go ahead and just drop some more down in there. And we'll squeegee into that gap between the two panels there. Okay, and then we'll pull this back a little bit. Ooh, yeah, be careful. We'll get some tack solution in there. It's a good idea too. You can put your hand here, you can put the squeegee right there to make sure that you don't pop off onto the bumper. Especially if you're on like a black car or something, you actually will leave a mark right there from popping that off of the bumper. Okay, we're tucking all that in. Oh, we got it popping off just a little bit here, so let's get a little bit more tack in there and then get this pushed down here. And then I'll go ahead and kind of re-tack it down just to make sure that it doesn't lift there again. Great. Work our way over to the other side. All right, again, get some tack in there. Some slip on the outside, and then we'll push this up into place and relieve this tension. And then this time I'm going to go ahead and maybe try tacking it right back down right here so that this corner won't pop up. Let's learn from what we did on the other side. Okay, let's get more of this up now. Let's see, what are you looking at? Not enough. How about that? Better-ish? Okay. All right, this area was the area that wasn't stuck down yet, so that didn't pop back up. Just hadn't been pushed down yet with the tack solution in there. And then I'm holding this part of the squeegee, just making sure that when I stop in that recess, that this part of the squeegee isn't coming out this way onto the material, because until that adhesive is really dry, you can leave those lines in the adhesive from the pressure from that one spot on the squeegee. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get this area all pushed down. We're gonna go ahead and re-wet the material down. Okay, great. Now, like I said, on this area, I'm just looking to come back into the edge of that, or to that recess right there, all the way into that corner. And then we'll come down that corner and come to like about here, and then we'll go up and then allow this to go all the way up to the trunk. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of push that back in there and see what we're working with, and then I'm gonna cut this long. Something like that is more than enough. Okay, like that. We're getting a little close, so let's make that a little bigger. And then that's going down into there, which is nice. And then we'll just go ahead and come right up like that. And let's do the same thing on this side. So just figuring out where that's going to go in and lay down, and then give ourselves a little bit of extra. And then go up like that. Okay, so now let's see, what do I want to do first here? We really want to get these corners in first, so that when we're pushing this in, it's kind of stretching the material from here and here, and that allows, you know, that gives us, don't get me wrong, it is stretching right in here as well, but it is pulling some of the material like into this recess, which is nice to have that tiny bit of extra stretch area. So let's go ahead and stick this very corner here, and then we'll work our way up, and then we'll work our way over. Okay, so let's go ahead and push this all the way to that recess. That went like okay, but it did, you know, right here it is just coming right back up, so that's not a problem. We're just gonna have to then take like this and push this into the recess all the way. Okay, now I am going to take and put some tension upward on this and see what we can get here for coverage close to this top here. Okay, all that is pushed in really good. I am gonna put a little relief cut right here at this tail light, like this, and then take it up like that. Okay. Now we could have had a little tiny bit more coverage here. That would have been nice. I didn't really think about that. So we're gonna fall just a tiny bit short there, but I'm super not concerned about that. It's all covered up by the trunk lid when it's closed. And this person had, before they had this paint work done on this bumper, they had a kit installed. So I'm sure it didn't even go into here. Looking at the rest of the kit. Okay, great. And then we just have to come back and trim that off. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and push some of this down because there's probably some tack solution in there. So we'll push that out. Make sure we're not leaving anything in this recess. Great. And let's come over to the other side. I'll get you a little bit different angle on this one and see how that goes. If I may get in your way more from this direction. We'll see. All right, let's try that. Okay. Again, we'll go ahead and put a bunch of tack in here. And then this side is up a little bit taller here, so we may get all the full coverage on this side. Okay, got some tack in there. And we'll go ahead and squeegee back. And then hold in that corner. Now, you know, I should have really just held longer with this. I don't know, the other side I waited longer. I don't know why I just did that. Okay, let's try to get some of this slip solution out of here. So I'm gonna push this down and then I'm just gonna go like this. And that'll create, you know, that'll allow some of that slip to go up and over out the top. That way we're not fighting it so much here, because we're really gonna have to dilute it down in order to get enough tack solution in there. Okay, so let's try this again now. I'm just holding it right in that corner. Okay, great. And let's work our way up a little here. Okay. Make sure all the solution is squeegeed out of there. And I'm gonna go ahead here again. And I'll come down like that. I'll check our phone, see why it's ringing. Hello, this is Ricky. Yeah. I kind of like that angle. Let's see if that's helpful for the rest of this. Back all the way back out here. Now, we did kind of squeegee out some of the water here with our hands, but it isn't not tacked down. So we're just going to go ahead and add a lot of tack into there, because it will be diluted down by that slip solution there that's still stuck down in there. Okay. All right, and we'll go ahead and squeegee this out now. Okay, I'm almost done. All right, and then we're just gonna work our way towards the middle from each side. So having the tack solution in there will just help it so that when we push that back into that corner, it stays stuck down. Otherwise, because there's so much water, soapy water in there that's pulling up right here, it's gonna just continue to wanna like run down in to this area. And we're gonna go ahead and take this all the way up now. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's do like a slide across this and make sure that we, I feel like, yeah, I did. I left a tiny bit of water right there. Oh, it wasn't even hardly stuck down. That's kind of the problem with just having the slip in there, is that this area is not going to get really tacky enough. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back in some areas that went all the way down here, all the way back down to that recess. in there. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and then go in and then round up. And so you can see here that I'm kind of going over while I'm doing that. And you don't necessarily have to do that, but you do have to go in and then up like this. And you wanna make sure that I'm only about 1/3 of this is pushing down new, and then the other 2/3 is going over stuff I already pushed down. And the reason for that is that it's very easy when you go in there and go up that it'll push the water out to the edge of the squeegee, and we don't want it to push the water over into an area that we think we've already completely tacked down, right? So we'll go like that, and we'll work our way out to the center here. All right, great. So that's looking really good. Okay, and I am gonna put a little tack in here just to get that down, and then we're gonna decide where we're gonna come up. So we might not even be over this far. So right there, and then we'll throw some tack in this part too. Okay, and then I'm gonna just fill in this recess and make sure that I didn't leave any slip or tack solution in there. So as you're going across that, you'll kind of feel the material bunch up, and then you'll pop over a water bubble if there is water in there, but there isn't. So we're in great shape there. You can also put your towel over your finger, and that'll help it slide a little bit better. But it's also, you get rid of some of the sensitivity as far as feeling for that water you might have left behind. There's a little bit here that's on that back edge. So I'm gonna just push that out. It's not down in the recess though. Okay, great. Just wanna make sure it's not down in that very recess where we're gonna trim the material, that it's on that side of where we're gonna trim. Okay. So that's down. We're gonna let that dry for just a little bit while we work on some other stuff here. All right, let's go ahead and get this laid in here. There we go, good. Great. Okay, so I did, as we did earlier, we did cut a relief cut there and a relief cut there, and then brought it across so that we could get this to wrap in and to relieve some of the tension that was, where was it? It was like right in here. Okay, so let's go ahead then and push this all the way back to the light. And I'm actually gonna go, oh, look at that. Let's see here. I wish I had cut this a little bit, but I didn't. No, we don't need to cut it. Let's see. Okay, that's gonna go down a little bit differently than I was anticipating, which is great. I just went ahead and tucked it in there underneath the light. Okay, and then let's see, what else can I do here? Because we're gonna have, actually that's going down pretty good. Sometimes it's hard to get in here with these bigger squeegees like this. Okay, just like that, and then we'll stick our blade in there and we'll cut right. Basically, I'm gonna go in between these two with a little bit of blade, and then it's gonna have to be a lot more blade because it's actually tucked in quite a bit down there, and cut that edge off and then make sure that it's pushed all the way back and down and staying stuck down. All right, and I did something a little bit different there than I normally do on that one, and what that is that I normally start in these corners first. And this one, for whatever reason, I just started here and went across. But normally I would start here and then work my way away from those areas, because this is gonna need the most extra material right in this corner. And so we wanna be able to use as much of this area here to stretch into that area when we're pushing it down, just like we did around it's basically the same thing, but upside down. And this, at this point, on this part, okay, I'm like, what am I talking about, huh? All right, so this is basically the same type of process as we did in the trunk area, where we're pushing the metal down first, and then we're working our way. I'm sorry, it's not really well, it's the middle here, basically, the middle out. And then there we did the side, and then we did the side, and then we pushed the middle. So it's basically the same thing. Okay. Let's get that dried out here. And then we'll work our way this direction. And we'll get a little bit different angle on the other one. We're like down from below and looking up into here. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we can get that little corner to stay down right there. So I'm just gonna, I kind of dried it out a little bit there by blowing in there. That's a signature move I have. Okay, great, and that's staying down. So then we'll go, well, it's popping up a tiny bit, but it's gonna be fine. You could also trim that a little bit more, and that would allow, that would get rid of some of that tension, but I'm sure that we can get that to stick down. So I'm gonna go ahead and just push it down. And then if it just continues to pop up, it's going to stay down during the heat sealing process. All right, so there. Okay, that time it is staying down, but it's, that's not our final there. We are gonna still heat seal that, and then we don't have to worry about it popping up. Great, let's get over to the other side. All right, so for you guys, it's been a split second. For me, it's been overnight. We had a few things come in at the end of the day there that I needed to get done that were scheduled, and this car was dropped off by a body shop randomly, so we had a little bit of a conflict there, and this ended up having to just stay like this overnight. Not a huge deal, not necessarily something I love to do, but you know, sometimes that's the way it goes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump ahead just a tiny bit. Normally I would go ahead and get this part laid down immediately, would be the next step, but because everything on the edges is pretty dry, we're gonna go ahead and trim some of this out and wrap down some of the edges before I start putting slip solution back all over this in order to finish the install. Because those edges are dry, it's a good time to do that now. So let's get started on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim some of these edges. I'm gonna go ahead and start right here. And there is a bit to wrap onto back there, almost about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just gonna start from here on basically on top of the bumper as much as I can get. And then we'll go ahead and cut this out so we get a nice line to pull from as far as for along this cut line. Okay. So I'm just trimming right up about as high as I can get on this. This should be interesting to see if this actually is cutting enough to tear on this line. I can feel that the blade is, let's see, are you still looking at this? No. All right, I can feel that this blade is not really grabbing and biting into the material. So let's see if that worked at all. Nope, okay. Let's get a couple blades broken off of this. I'm just gonna start over. All right, so I've got a fresh blade here, and let's go ahead and trim some of this paint protection film here. So I'm just running as far up as I can get. Let's see if I made it all the way to that little edge there. Yep, okay, good. All right, so we've got a nice line there that we're tearing from. And we'll go ahead and tear to where we started we'll tear to where we started our cut. Just got to be getting close right in there somewhere. I don't know. Okay. All right, I did run my blade along this already, and I wasn't going to show you guys because I didn't think I got deep enough. But it looks like I did. blade, I could feel that the blade wasn't really biting into the material. It's kind of gliding across it, so I was concerned I didn't get enough, so I was just gonna go ahead and start that whole part over. But since we did get enough of a bite into the material, let's go ahead and just tear along that line and not recut it. Okay, we made it to there. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just push the rest of this down with a towel there. And then we'll go ahead and push that edge all the way down. Great. And the towel part just helps dry up and helps, because there's no slip on the material, it helps it slide across the material. Helps the squeegee anyway. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and come over to here. And I'm just gonna cut this all the way through there. And then we'll take right on that same line and come this direction. Oh, I ran into this bump here and it made the blade go up like that. So I came off of my line. Let's get back on that. All right, that's nice. You can hear I've got some good squeak. All right, just come down and meet where we stopped before. I'm not sure I made it all the way to it. Let's see, let's start back here on our, okay, here we go. We'll bring this on down. Just make sure that you're pulling away from the material. In case it does happen to tear off, we want it to tear that way and not into the pattern. All right. Then we'll go ahead and push that edge down here, dry it out. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and push this down in this area just a little bit. There is a lot of water that was still caught down in this recess here. Some of this should be dry enough to just stay stuck down, and then we're gonna go ahead and trim that now. So we need to get this pulled up and out of our way so that we can get underneath the material right under the headlight. Okay, we'll go, let's see, I think on this part, I'm gonna go ahead and just tuck in there, and we'll go ahead and cut this out back in there underneath the headlight, I'm sorry, tail light. And then we'll go ahead and come down here. So I'm just staying, so this basically, the plastic part covers all the way till that bend. So anything back behind there will keep you with good coverage that you're not gonna see that line or the edge of the material. Okay. Tear that away. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead, because so we can keep this material for pulling that off, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right there. And then we'll come like this. Oops. Okay, there we go. Okay, great. I'll go ahead and dry that out. Okay, that's not sticking down there, but that's because there's a lot of moisture left in there. That'll go down later once it dries a little bit. All right, and then let's see if we made it all the way through back in there. Nope, it went a little bit further back in there. Actually, that's really tight up against the bumper right there. And then it kind of gets, there's plenty more space after that where you can get the blade further in. Okay. I'll go ahead and tuck that. Just run over that edge. Make sure it's in there real good. Now we'll come around and work into this trunk area. All right, so right here, I'm going to go ahead and, so we got kind of underneath the taillight there. So right here, I'm gonna go ahead and basically come out from underneath the taillight, and then we'll bring this straight over to, I think right about there. Perfect. Okay, so basically we were underneath the taillight and then we wrap down and then we come out to more of the face there. And then when we get back to here, we're gonna go ahead and trim, not directly in the recess, but I'm just gonna keep it a tiny bit this way and see how that looks. Actually, I'm even gonna turn my blade a little bit this way. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think that helps the material not catch so much dirt over time, because you're actually, instead of having like, this is your cut and this is the flat edge, this is the top of the material, this is the edge of the material. So first you're like this, and then you put a cut right down here. Well, then when you tear this piece away, you're basically left with a flat surface there that where all the dirt can get stuck. So I believe that by tapering that edge, you can potentially get it to collect less dirt. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in at a little bit of an angle of this, like this. And then when we get to about here, which I know I'm kind of blocking that for the other camera, we'll go like this, and then we're gonna go do a little, just round it a little bit, and we'll go up. And then we get to this top area, we'll turn and then come across here. And then we're gonna need to lift up on this to make sure that we can see where we're trimming and that the paint protection isn't hanging down into our way. All right, so we made it to right here. All right, let's go ahead and tear this away now. So I stick my fingernail in there and pull away, and that allows it to help tear right on that line. I keep moving the camera. You guys gotta pay attention. Okay, and right here it'll be making that turn and going back up and then coming across now. There's just a little bit of water still left on this edge, which is fine. It just means that, you know, it's peeling up a little bit while we're sticking it down, so I'm running my finger right behind it and pushing it back down. All right, so for this one, we'll go ahead and come over again. And right about there is where we'll end up going back up. And then let's do just a little bit of a turn here, so it's not just a straight angle right there. It went like over 45 and then down. Oh, look at that. I'm kind of going around to the back side. So let's try that again. So I'm a little bit shaky this morning. It's kind of a weird angle, so you don't really get the squeak just the same. Okay, so over here, looks like I don't even know how to... oh, we made it to this little hole right here. We went right up at that hole, so let's find that hole. It isn't the same on this side, never mind. We're just gonna kind of guess. It was almost like right here at the bottom of this rounded corner. Okay, make a little turn, work our way up, and I'm gonna push all this back on this rubber and the paint protection film at the top there. Make another little turn, and then we'll come across the face here. I had to readjust my hand there on the blade. I had my fingers sticking out a ways back this way and it was starting to bump into this material. Okay, let's go ahead and I think we'll be able to get this to tear right here in this corner. So I'm gonna kind of pull right up to that line and then I'm gonna pull back on it. It's not really tearing, so let's see. I actually went past this line because this part was going over a little bit, so I wasn't sure because it was so small right here that I was gonna be able to get this to tear real well. And actually I was able to. So I've got it tearing, I don't know if you, can you even see that? It's the material goes over and then goes whoop like that because I was able to tear on that line. But we really need, let me get some tweezers real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna reach back with my nail and lift up on that material and try to get it unstuck to the part that we pushed back to get unstuck from the bumper. Then we're gonna slide this under and then we'll go ahead and tear on that line. Man, it's just hard to get your fingers in there. Grab a hold of this little tiny piece. There we go. And then we'll just go back this way then with this one. Nope, we will not. Okay. All right, so my line is right there. I'm gonna go ahead and stick my fingernail just to that side of it and pull away. Okay, there we go. It's hard because this part is already so stuck over here. There we go. All right, now that we got that to tear, I'm going to go ahead and cut right here down to the tear. That way we can take this part this way and then this part that way. Okay, go ahead and try that out. And then let's go back the other direction. And then that's going to leave a little smudge of adhesive. You can kind of just rub it off, or you can use just a little bit of rubbing alcohol and gently massage it away, and that'll clean it right up. Alrighty, I'm having a rough time. Goodness gracious. Let's find another tear line here. Okay, right there. Okay, not sure why it wouldn't go back the other direction, but it wouldn't, so, but there we go. We got it either way. All right, we'll get this up out of our way so we can see what we're doing. And then we will go ahead and, okay, that goes straight up because I mean, we just cut right there and then I tore that off and then I tore it straight up. So we can just go back underneath the headlight now, come across. That one you can fit in there much better than the other side. The other side was touching somewhere right in here. Okay, let's go ahead and trim around this now. So I'm gonna go ahead, start up here, come down, and then we'll go back in here just a little bit. Bring it on down, over, and then start our way back up. Okay, and then I'm going to come over right along the top here. And then down, and I'm just following right on that edge, not going over the edge at all, because there's not going to be anything for the material to stick to if you go over the edge. You're going to have to, it's just going to lift up and then hold dirt. And then as we get over here further, we're going to be going more to kind of the little tiny top of the bumper where it rounds just a little bit. Okay, when we get to this part, we will go all the way through the material and cut over like that. Okay, and then we need to come down this way. Okay, there we go. Perfect. There we go, awesome. It can get a little bit more difficult to get a good tear going on this when the material around your tear is all fully stuck down. You've got these weird angles going on. Okay. Perfect. All right, so back in here, like I said, on the other side, it gets pretty thin at the top, but then anywhere down here, it gets thicker and thicker as far as, or wider and wider as far as how much you have that you can wrap over onto the back side here. So let's go ahead, because that's mostly dry now. Let's go ahead and wrap this on there, and then we'll go ahead and trim it off right on the bumper if it allows us to do that. There was a little bit of water left in there. Okay, so we're just gonna do that, and then I'll go ahead and trim this off now. Some of it stuck down really well and some of it didn't. There was still some water in there. Okay, I'm gonna just go from here, bring it on down, right along the edge of the bumper. Okay, and then here it starts to lift off because there was some water still in there. So I'm gonna pull that basically kind of tight down, and then we'll just cut right along the edge there. There we go. Okay. And then let's get this pushed down and dried out. Great. And also keep in mind actually that majority of this is covered by the rock guard. So the rock guard, I believe, comes like all the way out here and then comes down. So this edge is actually not going to be visible once we put the rock guard back on. All right, so we're going to just barely come around this edge here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just look at what I've got here. And then we're gonna cut off and leave maybe 1/8 of an inch to, yeah, probably about 1/8 of an inch to wrap over. So this way I can actually cut all the way through the material. You want to make sure with your other hand that you're keeping good tension on the material so that you get a nice straight cut over here. That is going to be our finished edge, so we want it nice and smooth. I'm just going to go and round that a little bit right at the end there. And then we'll go ahead and push this, roll this over and push this down and dry that edge out. Okay, now right here the material it's got some extra material right here in it, so it bunched up on itself. So let's see what we can do with that. Can we push the middle down first? Yes. So push the middle down first, and that's gonna so by pushing this middle down, it's going to push the fingers off to the side, and then we can kind of push them out that direction and this direction. And that allowed us to not have all that buildup right there on that corner. So, and then with this area here, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing where I'm gonna wrap a bit underneath, and we're gonna go ahead and go for about 1/4 inch this time. You could even go more if you were so inclined, but I don't know, if that's really necessary, really. All right, I'm getting a little small there, so let's bring that just a little bit back out. And then at this very end again, I'm going to go ahead and do just a little contour to it so we don't have like a really sharp corner there. Okay, so we're going to start by pushing this part in, and then we're going to try and get this corner down, and then we'll work the part in between it there. Okay, push all this down. All right, great. I mean, so technically you could probably get that to go lay down in here. Seems a little overkill. We'll keep on moving on. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this around. I've got a lot of tension on this, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut off some of this extra here, leaving quite a bit still though. Okay, got that wrapped on now. I'll go ahead and trim it off. All right, so up here, I'm gonna go up first. Like that, and then kind of make a nice rounded corner there. Terrific. Then we'll go ahead and bring this cut down. Basically following right on that edge. Okay. Great. All right, get a little bit different angle there on this one. So again, we're gonna go over, we've got an 1/8 of an inch or so, and trim this off. Basically just enough to get us around to the bottom side of the bumper here. Okay. Okay, and again, we've got the extra material, and I did leave this a little bit longer, so we need to pay a little bit more attention when pushing this down. Okay, there we go. Okay, I trapped a little air pocket in there, so let's pull this back up a little bit. There we go. Oh, there's another one here. This is actually from leaving it sitting like that overnight. It must have wrapped around and tacked itself a little bit, trapping an air pocket. Okay, there we go. All right, so again, giving ourselves about 1/4 inch. Too much blade hanging out there. So I'm running my pointer finger there against the bumper to help also keep that edge nice and straight. Okay, get that broke loose. Then we'll come over and we'll round that just a little bit. And I kind of left this more at a point, which will be fine, but you could, on the other side, I did round that corner a little bit, which should be nicer. Not that anybody's ever gonna really see this in here. Okay, and then just wrapping that on. Now what I want to do here is we are going to be cutting this whole section out and then putting a separate piece in there. So I want to pop that up and then push that down into the recess a little more. There's a lot of tension on that, so it's, yeah, we're going to be hard pressed to get that to go down right now. Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring this up right to about there. Now we'll be actually cutting, trimming on the paint, and I'm going to go just above the contour there. Okay, and then we'll come across. Make the corner here, round down, and then come meet our other cut. See if that tears right on that line. Nope. Okay, we'll start over here. Nope. All right. Get this pushed back down right there. All right, let's think about this for a second. I think I'm gonna put a new blade in my Olfa knife. I'm just not getting a good bite. Maybe this blade somehow is a little bit dull. All right, let's see here. What do we want to do? This is kind of a mess. I'm sorry about, you know, it's like, of course this would happen during when I'm making a video. Let's see if I can get my fingernail in there and get this torn right here. Good. All right, let's see if this will be a better spot to tear from now. Okay, that's definitely doing better. Don't get too crazy and go too fast. In case things tear off the wrong direction, you want to be able to stop. Okay, great. Then I'll go ahead and push this down. So I'm just gliding over that dry, which is fine. Just want to be really careful, be real gentle with the squeegee so you don't catch an edge and kind of pinch it up on itself. I could see here that instead of tearing down my tear line, the material actually just tore right there, going back this direction. So I'm getting that to finish tearing instead of leaving that little jagged edge. So it's coming off and then kind of bunching up. There we go. I've got a little bit broken loose there from the bumper, enough that I can get the tweezers on it and pull that part off. Okay, so now let's get back to where we would have been had I not left this car sitting overnight. And first I'm gonna go replace this blade because I think I'm having some issues with it. I mean, once I get tearing on my line, it does okay, but you know, I'm not getting enough squeak out of it, and it really kind of feels like it's gliding across the material instead of biting into it. So I think for whatever reason, maybe, I don't know why, but I think this blade's a little dull. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. Look at all those blades, that's years. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start right here, and I'm basically just gonna come to this corner, cut up like this. And then we are gonna come out a little bit once we know that we have enough material to round over and go all the way back to that light there. So we're gonna come out a little, and then we'll come across the center like this, and then we'll start to work our way back towards that corner again. Like that. Now this has been hanging out like this overnight. So there, I don't know what's in there. It could be just, it's probably just slip solution. Well, we did use some tack. I'm not sure. I'm gonna throw some new tack in there though. Okay, let's go ahead and push this in now. Just be careful in these areas here. I left a little water right there. It's hard to get a good pressure in that. You just have to really pay attention. Okay, all the way up there to that cut is good. Then we'll push this down all the way to the light and all the way to this corner here. Okay, that's looking good. Let me see. Okay, good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and let's get this rounded part down first. Oh, got a little bit of moisture trapped right there. Perfect. Okay, let's do that again. And actually I'm going to start right down here and then just work my way up and around. Okay. Well, this isn't quite sticking down right here, but it will after it dries out a little bit. So let's see if we can dry out some of this moisture here, and then we'll just let this sit for a bit. And the goal then is going to be able to just take the blade, put it back in here between the two, and trim that material off. Like that. And by shaking it a little bit, you're kind of actually doing a sawing motion on that material, which will help it just to cut real well. Perfect. Okay, and then we'll give that another push down, way back in there. Great. We can do this top one right now as well if we'd like. Okay. Okay, great. All right, so that part's about finished up. We'll just need to heat seal all those edges, but let's go ahead and get this center section on. Let's get a piece on here. All right, so I'm gonna put this up a little bit higher than we need to be. And I'll show you why. Gonna need some tack solution. See if we can get this to stick for a moment. Okay. So I get some tack solution in there. Some slip on the outside. Oh! Don't put these in your pouch. Don't put them in your pouch. Look at that. Why do I do that? Okay, so let's get this squeegee down here. So we'll go all the way up in this area. And then bring it down this here. Okay, so now in order to get a little bit of extra material in here, I'm gonna go ahead and drop this side a little bit. And what that's gonna do is put a bunch of extra material in here to allow us to go into this recess without having a ton of stretch on it. This area will need still a little bit of stretch, but if we get some extra material in there, it won't be nearly as much. Okay, so I'm gonna put right along the top there a little bit of tack solution. So I'm keeping some tension on this so that we keep this nice and smooth, and then seeing how much extra material I can get down in here without leaving fingers along the top here. Okay, let's go ahead and squeegee this out, and then we'll round it up as well to where the other piece of material ends. And we'll go ahead and bring it down over here. Okay, and then this part up here is going to need a little bit more tack solution in there. Is this on? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and round this back with the tack solution in there now. That'll stay down. Okay, that's good for now. And why don't we go ahead and get this one pushed in, and then we'll take care of that side. Okay, so let's see here. I prefer not to work with the tack solution just yet if I don't have to, and then we'll use them when we really need it. Okay, so I'm just getting that to lay down, and then we're pushing this down there into the space in between this plastic and the bumper. Okay, now let's get this one into place. All right, something like that looks like it's gonna work pretty well. Let's go ahead and bring this stuff over, and then we'll take it down. Okay, this is definitely going to need some tack in here to get it to stay down once we get it in place and squeegeed out. Okay, and then we'll go around the corner like this to that way we can get a nice even pressure on it. Beautiful. All right, so that's very minimal stretch compared to what it could be because we're having it round down a bit. Okay, that looks really good, and then we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. We're gonna do the same thing here. Put some tack on the top here. And then we'll tilt this down a bit, and let's see how much extra material we can get in here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We are gonna end up with a little bit more stretch here than we did on the other side, and that's because I noticed when I was pushing this down in, this material kind of pulled that way down here. I should have really gotten this stuck down real good, so we kept the tension on both sides even. But we're gonna be able to get that without an issue. All right, we don't want to put too much in there that we create fingers in there. Okay, then we'll come across this. See, like that might be too much. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so we don't want that. We want it just like that will be good. Basically just took a little bit of that excess and moved it over here to this side. Okay, and then we'll get this. Now we're gonna need more tack in there. Not wanting to stay down. Okay. Slide jump on that. Okay, let's get this down now. Let's see. Just kind of seeing if I can push this down into place with this still up, if that helps, you know, if it pulls any of the material from here and helps it relax into there. Now that we've got that down, we'll go ahead and push the rest of this down, and then we'll work that little bit more difficult area. Okay, so those fingers that are like that, you kind of want to go with them, or when they're aligned like this, you want to push them out. You don't want to go over them because they can crease over on themselves really easy. Okay, let's get that to stay out of our way. All right, so this side allows me to get a little bit more pressure, than this side is a little bit more flexible. Okay. Some tack in all this. Let's work this down now. And I kind of caught the material there with my finger and bunched my fingernail here and bunched it up a little. So I'm gonna pull that back up, lay it back down. Be careful about that actually, because on a black car that would probably be still noticeable, because that damages the material a little bit. Pretty much the same as, doing this real hard and then getting an area to bunch up. It does the same thing, but with your fingernail. Okay, that's looking really good. Let's go ahead and start trimming this out. All right, let's go ahead and trim this side out together, and then I'll do the other side by myself, and then it'll be time to heat seal everything. All right, let's get ourselves a new blade. First, we're gonna just leave just a tiny bit of blade out there. Just tuck it into that in that recess, and come across. Like that. Okay. And then we'll push that down. That is going to need a little bit more convincing there, so it's going to need a little bit of tack in there. Perfect. And then if that comes up at all, it won't be a big deal. We'll just use the heat at the end with the heat sealing process to make sure that stays down. Okay, and so we're basically just gonna come just below the bend there, and we'll cut this, trim this out. All right, and then once you get over to here, you could either decide that you're going to trim this and try and lay that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it off right about here, and then we'll just wrap around, you know, 1/8 of an inch or a little more. Okay, let's see if we can get this to tear along our trim line. Perfect. And then that'll allow us then, to be able to put a little bit of tension on this material while we trim it so we get a nice straight cut. Let's make a little turn there, and then we're going to come back to the face of this, maybe just 1/8 of an inch under. Something like that. Okay, and let's dry this part out. And then let's wrap this around. See, I'm probably just use a squeegee on this one. It's pretty long. Get a little tack in there. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this around. Okay, let's get a little bit done on the centerpiece here. All right, and then my goal on this part is going to be to cut from about here around to about here, and then we'll drop down about 1/8 of an inch. And we'll just come, I mean, we're gonna cut straight out, and then we'll see if we can tear this part. I didn't make it all the way through there. There we go. Okay, perfect. And then again, we'll come straight down, and then we'll leave this a little bit long, right about there. Same with this part. Okay. Then we'll wrap this under. If you try to wrap all of this, you're going to get a lot of extra material bunched up. So you're going to have to do some type of relief cut or something there. And so I just think that that's going to be easier just to trim that part right at the edge and then wrap these sides here. That's a great looking finished part. All right, terrific. So I'm gonna finish trimming this one out, and we'll come back in a little bit once all this dries and go ahead and heat seal all of these edges. See you in a few. All right, so it's been a couple hours for me. I tinted a car, and I think all we have to do is heat seal these edges, and this one's finished up. I was talking about I stuck one of these squeegees in here. I know, because there were some little fingers that were coming out from underneath there, so I stuffed these squeegees in there to hold that down and in place while it dried, and then now they're staying down. So we'll make sure they're staying down on the other side too. I haven't popped that squeegee out yet. All right, but let's go ahead and get to heat sealing these edges. Don't skip this step. This is an important step to make sure that you don't have problems over time. And then I'm actually probably gonna make another video on this car because we didn't do the front of this car, and there are edges popping up. They like overlapped edges, so I'm gonna just kind of go over, you know, things not to do with the front of this. It's not terrible install, it's just not great. So, all right, let's go ahead and get on this part of this, get this done. All right, so we're gonna start here and then just work our way around. And let's see, I don't know that we need, let's make sure this is on. I don't know that we're gonna need both angles for this the whole time. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna start right here on this corner. We're gonna heat this up. And let's see, 730, that's fine. Okay, and I'm got my finger in there, my fingernail in there to push that material down on the very edge. So warming it up and pushing it down. Now if the material starts to get real grabby, then that means you're getting it a little too warm and you'll want to speed up or at least get the heat away so you don't end up overheating the material. And we're just going to work our way all the way around. So now we're going to come across the top here, and then we're going to work our way down into this recess. Let's get all that down, and then we'll go across the top here. All right, get this little corner down right there. So all this stuff is stuck down pretty good. And we'll see if there's anything that isn't quite stuck down well enough. I can see that it's popping up a little bit in there, so I'm gonna cram this in there and push down on it. All right, that looks great. And it's only because of this angle that we can look at this that I can see that. All right, and then we'll go ahead and heat these edges up and push them down. And basically what I was trying to say before about we'll see if anything's not stuck down is so I can show you some different things that you need to be careful about. If you overheat these edges, the issue with that is that the film can bunch up. You can burn the material, or you can bunch the material up, and then you're gonna not be able to get that, you're gonna bunch the edge up and it's gonna look really bad, and you're gonna have to trim that part off. There's no recovering from that. Also, if any of the material is sticking up, so it's not stuck to the bumper, it's a good idea to push that down first before you put heat on it. Okay, we'll go ahead and get this. So right here, I've got a little edge that isn't fully stuck down. So I'm gonna push that down first, and then I'll put some heat on it and then push it down again for the heat sealing process. And the reason that we're doing that is because, you know, if we put heat on it while it's not stuck to the bumper, then the problem with that is that the material is gonna get super hot super fast because it can't transfer that heat to the bumper. So if you push it down, then, you know, everything is touching the bumper, and so the heat, that spot doesn't get quite as hot or more hot than the areas around it, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. I can see that I've got a little air pocket here. That was from leaving this sitting overnight. All right, so I just pulled that up because on the bottom there, it's like, it's really underneath where the air pocket was. Little one right here, right on the very edge. Okay, great, let's go ahead. So like there's a little part sticking up. Can you see that? I'm gonna go ahead and push that down first. Then we're gonna put some heat on it. And that allows this whole area to get the same amount of heat on it. If that part was sticking up and I put heat on it, it's just gonna melt that part before it gets everything hot, if that makes sense. It's gonna overheat that little part because it can't transfer the heat onto the bumper. All right, I'm gonna stop beating a dead horse there. Sorry about that. Let's see.
Okay, so I'm just heating the area up in there, and you want to be very methodical about this so that you're not missing spots. And when we're all done with this, I'll go up and show you why. You could tell that the people that did the install on this before me, that the front is all done. They did a partial hood package on here, and they definitely did not heat seal their edges because they're coming up. So you want to heat that edge up and then run over it with your finger, get some good pressure on it, and that'll help it stay down and keep it from popping up over time. We'll go ahead and go around this part now. Now we do have a little bit bunched up right here. I'm gonna just go ahead and put some heat on that and then push that down. And that's kind of what I would call like my melt method, except for not quite as much heat as I would use under a hood. Okay. Can't quite get my finger down in there, so I'm going to grab my Bondo card with the felt on the edge and get this tucked in right there. Perfect. That's laying down nicely now. Okay, great. So we've got all this laid down. We'll keep working our way around. All right, so let's pull this out and see what that looks like. That looks really good. Everything's staying stuck down. So like I said, there were some fingers, some tiny little fingers coming out from underneath there, and because I can't get underneath there and push that down really, I went ahead and just stuffed that card in there for a bit, and that helped those fingers go down and then stay stuck down. The other thing I would have done instead of that is just to go ahead and trim right there and then pull that material out. But that's going to be kind of hard to do down in this area. So I'm glad that that went ahead and went down so I don't have to do that as far as trimming it and trying to get that little piece out. Okay, great. Let's continue to heat this edge up, push them all down. Just don't miss any edges. This will really make a big difference for the longevity of the install. All right, so you can see here, we're popping up a little bit. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is get that to stick down first, and then I'll put some heat on it. Now this one here, I'm just gonna go ahead and heat this and maybe even overheat it just a little bit and push it down. Normally what would probably be best there if this was gonna be out in the open that somebody could see is that I would just trim this little corner out right in here. But because we are going to be putting the rock guards back on here, it's really would, you know, if we trim that out, it's just an extra step that we don't need to take because nobody's ever going to see this back here. It will be covered up. Okay, great. Let's get those plastic parts back in as well. Let's see, is this the one or is it the other one? Nope, the other one.
Perfect. Now all of our edges are hidden back behind there. We don't have to worry about those catching dirt. And that only, you know, those only took, I don't know how long they took to get out of there, but it wasn't long. It's just a couple minutes. Terrific. All right, terrific. Well, that's the process of installing paint protection film on this bumper. So now I just have to go ahead and reinstall the rock guards, and this thing is ready to go home. So appreciate you taking a look at this video. If you found anything helpful, please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. All right, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall this, and it clips over like that. That's how it holds on right there. Get this up into place, and then we're gonna go ahead and put this clip. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. Go ahead and put this clip back in first. That'll hold the bottom in place, and then we'll put the screws in. So underneath here, push this in, and then you pop the clip in. Now we'll go ahead and put these screws in. Guess that's as secure as that gets, huh? Okay. All right, so on this piece here, what I did is with the other side is I just kind of pulled back on this, and then I'm able to stick a bone stick in here. And then basically what it has is like clip, 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 and then there's like one up here, and then this side just pops in. So let's go ahead and see if we can get these clips to release a bit, which they really just pop right out. Okay, and then what I did on the other side is came up from the bottom, and then I just brought it kind of pulled it this direction, and it kind of just pops out of there like this. And so that was able to just kind of wiggle out, and then we need to get this top one unclipped. Let me see if putting any pressure on this is helpful. It was a little bit. If you can get in there and push this up a little, it'll help that clip pop out. Let's see if we can show you this. There, that might be the best angle. Anyway, that's this piece, and you can see that these just catch. So when you put it back in, you'll just push that in, and then when you push this side in, it'll clip in here and stay stuck in.